Hey, what's going on, guys? I've got quite the update for you today. Lots of juicy stuff ranging from iOS 12 to the new iPhone supposedly coming in several new colors, new features, and beyond that, in the future, Apple's got some crazy stuff cooking. It's been granted several patents that will do a variety of things that make the future quite interesting. So lots to talk about. Let's get right into it. And I want to start off with iOS 12. So what you're seeing here, this is the new invite that was sent out to the press today. And at first glance, it's not too interesting, but then you really get the picture here that there's a 3D aspect going on here. I mean, it's just a switch, but developer Rambo in his tweet speculates that this could be a 3D redesign for iOS 12. Now, I know that's a far-fetched idea, but realistically, looking at the WWDC like promo images, you can see there's a theme of 3D depth to it. We're looking at things in the isometric view, and it really could mean that iOS 12 coming in the future here, in just a couple weeks, we're going to be seeing the first beta at WWDC, could actually have a new 3D elements. And my take on this is that it's somewhat like the parallax effect. You know, when you go on the home screen and move your screen around, you get kind of this 3D effect. What if Apple implemented that everywhere in iOS using Face ID tracking? Like, it'll see where you're looking, and then according to that, it'll give you slightly 3D depth effect in certain menus, the such. And I think that could be very interesting. I mean, Apple would be doing something pretty unique with Face ID, actually applying it to the interface. And of course, that's far-fetched. It doesn't tell us much. It's literally just a 3D icon, but the GIF format actually has a new animation as well. So it has this little pop, and it just looks so satisfying. Imagine if Apple's overhauling the animations in iOS 12, and from this, I guess they actually could be, because we don't see that kind of animation anywhere else in iOS currently. So not only could we be seeing a new 3D depth effect, Apple could be completely reimagining the animations in iOS as well. And we've heard that iOS 12 won't be a major redesign. That was postponed for iOS 13, but that doesn't mean that we won't have new animations, which could actually change the way you use iOS so much, make it so much more satisfying. And the 3D depth effect, of course, we could be seeing that. So that's quite interesting. What do you guys make of this? I want to hear it from you. Leave it down below. And from the guy that brought you the iOS 12 concept I shared on this channel not too long ago, Alvaro, he actually just released a new concept pertaining to Apple Music, and it is absolutely fabulous. He imagines that in iOS 12, Apple will finally revamp music once again, and honestly, I don't like what they did with it. The iOS 9 music player was the best, and they went backwards with iOS 10 and 11. So going forward, I think that using this concept as a basis, Apple could certainly improve that so much. You've got improved actual charts, Today View, even the social media aspect of music could be improved. The overall visuals would be a little bit more compact, there'd be more going on, but you'd be getting a better idea overall. It's still very simple, very clean. I just like the way that he put this concept together, and Apple certainly could learn a thing or two from it. I mean, Apple Music right now is just unintuitive. There's so much going on, especially if you don't have Apple Music. There's a lot of extra stuff in there that you don't need. So what a great concept. You guys can check it out down below in the description. I'll leave a link, but prepare to be disappointed when the real iOS 12 drops, because usually Apple doesn't take our suggestions into account. And while we're on the topic of iOS 12, I wanted to throw in this concept. This is a redesign of the actual contacts application by Jackson Swarsky, and inside you can see that things have become much simpler. It's not just a simple list, everything is organized. You have these little squares with some quick shortcuts in there, and if you really think about it, the contacts application is essentially the same one we've had since iOS 1, the first iPhone, so Apple could certainly reimagine it, and this also is a very great foundation for Apple to take some inspiration from. So later this year, the 6.1-inch iPhone LCD model, also known as the budget end model Apple will be launching this year, may actually come in several new colors. And this is coming from a Rosenblatt analyst. He's saying that Apple needs a way to differentiate the lineup. Currently, you know, if they shared all the same colors, they'd be very similar phones. It'd be very hard for consumers to tell them apart. And a very good way to separate the lineup would be to actually offer different color choices. The iPhone 10 and 10 Plus would get the more premium colors, likely a new gold option as well, while these would be a blue, yellow, and a pink color. So we made up some renders real quick to go along with this and changed our design slightly. Gave it more of an iPhone 5C appearance with the lens, as you can see, as it just slopes up there. Very cool, very simple. We did it also in a metal finish and a plastic finish just to give you that idea. And it very much reminds me of the iPhone 5C. This certainly isn't the first time Apple has done something like this, a strategy like it, the colorful iPhone 5C. Although it wasn't very popular, still very cool of Apple to do that, and they may be doing a throwback to it later this year with the budget end 6.1-inch model. And also somewhat similar, I wanted to share Martin Hajek's version of this, and this is his render of the iPhone 10 or 10C, as he said, if it were to come out later this year, what it would look like in possibly a plastic finish. Also very cool, something that Apple could certainly do with the 6.1-inch LCD model, but obviously it will not have the dual lens camera on the rear. So that's a pretty neat version of the same concept. And I also wanted to throw in this. So this is our render, our look at the iPhone 10 and 10 Plus with a larger rear dual lens. In the last update video, we talked about how Mac Takara said the new iPhone coming out later this year, the sensor sizes would be increasing, so you can get possibly better quality from the camera, and as a result, the actual lens will be increasing in size as well. So I imagined it would grow about 25 to 30% and respectively added that difference on this render. As you can see, it's slightly larger, doesn't look out of place or anything, you'd be getting better quality and you'd barely even notice it. So I just wanted to see would that bother me at all if it was way bigger or anything, and I really don't think it will. And from that same source, the Rosenblatt analyst is saying next year, Apple will indeed be releasing a triple lensed camera. So this is already the third source that is confirming this will be happening. This isn't something obscene. I mean, it's already being done on the Huawei P20 Pro, so Apple could certainly be implementing it, and 3 people already think that is the case. Now, the last thing that he detailed in this report is that next year's iPhone will also have a 3D sensing module in the rear. So it'll be using slightly different technology versus Face ID. Instead of the dot matrix, it'll be using a technology called time of flight, where it throws a laser into the room and it measures the amount of time it takes for that laser to come back and hit the camera. And with this technology, you can get better AR capability, you can more accurately judge where items are being placed in the room, and so on. So Apple definitely wants to increase the AR capabilities of iPhones going forward, and that's a technology that if they did have it, it'd make it so much better. So this next report doesn't really make much sense to me, but apparently it's happening. A report from Korea is saying that Apple has not ditched the embedded fingerprint sensor completely. They're still looking to make it happen by seeking patents to make it work, both Apple and Samsung. So their version is an ultrasonic version, not the optical version that I'm showing you. This basically bounces light off my fingerprint and then back to the sensor to read the fingerprint. Apple's would actually scan the fingerprint and get up close and see all the micro ridges and the such. So it'd be more accurate, the yield rate would be smaller, but apparently Apple is not done with the fingerprint sensor. And that certainly makes sense because the recent iPhone SE2 rumors we've heard would not have Face ID. What in its place would it have? Possibly this technology. But the source says it wouldn't happen until late 2019 to early 2020 if it were to, although I have high doubts that they would do this. In an interview, the SVP of engineering at Apple said they were way past fingerprint technology. They weren't looking back. Face ID was better in almost every single way. So it doesn't make sense why Apple would still be researching this, maybe for other products, potentially the iPad, but that's rumored to get Face ID. Maybe future MacBooks will use this. We really don't know, but it would be cool to see in an iPhone. I'd honestly prefer this technology if it was anywhere on the display over Face ID. So we'll have to see what happens, still far out. And there's even more evidence that a fast charger, 18 watts, will be included in this year's iPhone box. Charger Lab shared these renders. This is the European version of the power adapter, 18 watts, that's USB-C to Lightning, that'll charge this year's iPhone. And supposedly if this is included in the box, that'd be a pretty good value because Apple currently makes you buy a separate adapter, separate power cable, and it's really annoying having to do that, spend extra money when you just spent so much on this iPhone and it doesn't even support it out of the box. And in the last few weeks, Apple's been winning a lot of patents, very interesting stuff, and it's all stuff that they can use in future iPhones. So I want to start off with this one. They want a patent for a flexible housing for an iPhone, a housing that you can possibly fold a little bit, then unfold, or even possibly fold in half. And it includes a flexible display patent as well that could be used in potential future Apple Watches. And I presume they could use that to make the Apple Watch experience a little bit more immersive. If they can make the display wrap around the edges slightly, it'll give it more of a 3D effect using this technology. So very cool that they have these, and they've been winning so many patents for flexible devices in the last few months. And with the rumors we've been hearing that we might be seeing flexible devices, Apple really is pushing hard for this whole flexible or folding phone and device thing. This next one is called vein imaging using detection of pulsed radiation. It sounds dangerous and scary, but really it would make your phone more secure. Alongside Face ID, this feature would actually scan the veins in your face. And looking beyond your skin, yes, you have a lot of veins in your face, they're pretty unique to you, and this could actually solve a problem where twins could unlock the same same phone because they have a very similar facial structure. But beyond that, if Apple wanted to make it even more particular, they can implement this and it would work even on twins, as everybody does have a unique vein structure. And this one's got to be the coolest of the bunch. Apple's been granted a patent for an electromagnetic levitation device, where with this technology you can possibly set a device to charge on this sort of pad, and there would even be an option software-wise to enable a slight rotation or a spin to have your device just charge and spin at the same time in midair. Now, we've already seen stuff like this. It's on the market with speakers. Usually they don't charge while they're up in the air. In fact, I don't think any of them can, but they just sit up there and they can spin while up in the air. It's nothing really unique, but to have it charge while being up there is really a wow factor. And I could see that AirPower possibly in the future implementing this, making it just seem really cool. Even though it's just using basic science to raise it, the whole wireless charging part would be really cool while in the air though. All right guys, so that's the latest on Apple. We've got iOS 12 beta 1 coming out here in just a couple weeks. I am so excited. I have a lot of faith in Apple that they're going to do something right. Maybe we'll get that 3D effect supposedly in iOS 12, and new colors for this year's iPhone 6.1 inch, possibly fingerprint technology in the screen is coming back. So a lot of great stuff in there. Stay tuned for the next one. I'll try and keep you guys updated. Peace.